Welcome to Yin and Young. The following is a story taken from Chapter 2. I have called it White Snake. I hope you enjoy it. Yinlin was always surrounded by people, first at home, and soon after with her mother at work. As Yinlin grew older, she soon joined other young children at school, where they were taught very early to be responsible, self-reliant, and devoted to Chairman Mao. School was not as we might imagine it today. It was a place of work, not play, where children learned many domestic and manual tasks, such as sweeping, folding clothes, preparing the table for eating, and doing small bits of factory work such as attaching fasteners, as well as early stages of mathematics and language. During each activity, the children had songs to sing, teaching them the values of their people. These were songs of dedication to hard work, progress, and ultimately Chairman Mao. For example, just before their afternoon sleep, the children sang, "I woke up to see my dear son was smiling. I asked why he smiles. I dreamt of Chairman Mao. Ha ha, ha ha. Ha 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 ha, I dreamt of Chairman Mao." After this, the teacher would say, "Dream of a good revolution. No more talking," as she quickly shuttered the windows, causing the room to grow dark. Yinlin enjoyed these days. She particularly enjoyed the ceremonies, whether it involved marching, dancing, or flag waving. When everyone worked together in unison, dedicated to a single purpose, she felt larger than herself, more alive, more real. Yet even in these ideal conditions, the snake demon found ways to break into her world. One day, when Yinlin explored some cupboards next to her parents' bed, she noticed a sliding glass door which opened to a wooden drawer underneath. To Yinlin's surprise and delight, she discovered a box of white Chinese New Year balloons. Her parents must have forgotten about them. How exciting! She didn't hesitate to grab several handfuls, which she took to school and distributed during break time. "Here," she started passing the balloons around. "These are New Year balloons. Blow them up." "But it's not New Year," someone said. "Have fun," Yinlin replied excitedly. Soon the air was filled with balloons. Some of the older classmates helped the younger ones tie the ends shut. Fully extended, the balloons were long and white and had a little nipple on the end. Some children let the balloon go, causing it to whoosh about in a whirl. Others stood in place, blowing and blowing, unable to quite get the balloon to expand. Some just twirled the deflated balloons around like flags as they ran through the playground. "How come the balloons are white?" one of the children asked. "These aren't New Year balloons." Yinlin thought about it for a moment. "It's by Sujian," she replied, referring to the white snake spirit of Chinese mythology. Yinlin knew little about the snake spirit except that the snake took a female form and had a human husband, even producing a son for him. The teacher on supervision at the time noticed all the chaos. The unrestrained squeals and delighted chatter, along with the random movement in the air and on the ground, triggered something deep in her communal memory, reminiscent of a Japanese air raid, or the Red Guard swarming the school. Already disturbed by the appearance of disorder, she was even more horrified when she recognized what the balloons were. She saw Yinlin distributing her balloons and grabbed her, taking what remained out of her hands, and shouted to the other children, "Give me the balloons, right now!" Her voice sounded shrill in her attempt to gain control over a horrifying situation. Yinlin's imagination, already ignited by the excitement of the moment, grew only more intense as she saw the ferocity of the supervisor. To Yinlin, the teacher was an emanation of the jealous monk Fahai, who had come to capture Bai Suchen. Her countenance frightened Yinlin. Yinlin was taken away, where she was made to sit outside the office of Miss Shaoli, the principal. The door was closed, and Yinlin could hear the animated voice of Monk Fahai talking with the principal. The door opened, and the teacher promptly paced out of the room and down the hall. Miss Shaoli looked down at Yinlin and commanded in a firm voice, "Come inside, young lady." Miss Shaoli stood, looking down at Yinlin, who also stood. "What is your name, young lady?" she asked. "Yinlin, miss," she replied. "Yinlin, at our school we do not allow children to bring these dirty things. Do you understand?" Yinlin nodded her head vigorously. Now Yinlin, faced with the authority of the principal, suddenly became suspicious of the snake spirit's demonic influence. Had she been tricked? Is that why she was in trouble now? Miss Shaoli opened the top of a stove that warmed the office and dramatically dropped the balloons inside. There was a flame and smoke, and a breathtaking smell emitted from the stove as Miss Shaoli put the lid back in place. "At our school we expect children to behave decently. We will not have any despicable things here. They are not allowed." Yinlin realized at that moment how close she had come to being captured by the snake spirit, and felt grateful that the principal had protected her. Miss Shaoli continued, "We have contacted your mother, and she will be taking you home." Yinlin looked down. Now she knew she was in trouble, but felt sheltered at the same time. When her mother arrived and was informed about what Yinlin brought to school, she got red in the face, grabbed Yinlin roughly and brought her home, but said surprisingly little about the issue. Yinlin knew her mother was angry, but at the same time she understood that this would be a protection for her. Somehow, as the event transpired, Yinlin forgot the joy of playing with balloons and only had thoughts of evil spirits trying to possess her in the form of a snake. Yinlin wondered why the devil snake wanted her, and began to think she might have a curse. It gave her comfort that the principal dropped all the white balloons in the fire, but knew from the story of the white snake that fire had not been able to defeat Bai Suchen before.